Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Welcome to The Money Factor. I'm Richard Naylor, your host. What should we do? We have visitors coming for 7 days. How are we going to keep them entertained? What are people going to do? Our guest today is Kathy Quandt. She's Director of Operations for the Albany Convention and Visitors Bureau. Let's meet her and talk about some of the things that people can do in Albany and ways that we can get to know the place better. Welcome.
Hi, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, the Visitor Center is a place where I guess I was impressed when I learned a little more about it, because I've been to visitor centers in very small places when I don't know what to do, and they'll often look more like a kiosk.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of people locally think that the visitor center is strictly for visitors, but as you found out, we are a whole lot more than that.
So let's go into that a little
Sure.
bit. What does the visitor center do?
Well, our visitor center, it's called the Albany Heritage Area Visitor Center, and we're actually a system of 19 heritage areas within New York State. And our visitor center, as a heritage area, which is basically defined as a special place within a community, our heritage area is basically the downtown area of Albany. Our focus is to really give an orientation to the city. So when people come to visit us at the center, they'll get travel information. They'll find that. They'll find a staffed information center, as you would in any visitor center. But then as you go beyond the reception desk, you'll find a treasure. You'll find an exhibit gallery of history from early 1600s straight through to present day. And you will find actually a planetarium at the visitor center as well, the Henry Hudson Planetarium, where we offer public star shows and school groups as well. We have a gift shop, and we run a variety of programs for school groups and for the general public.
So it's really a pretty large place. How many square feet do you have?
Probably, all in all, probably about 120 square feet, I would say. 120,000 square feet.
120,000.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I forgot to put the 3 zeros on the end.
This library is 35,000 square feet. To put it in perspective, that's a very large building.
Yeah, it is. And we have offices above our visitor center as well. The Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau is located right above the visitor center as well.
Now, have you been with the center for a long time?
I have been the Director of Operations for the Visitor Center for 10 years now, or on my 10th year. The Visitor Center is a city facility, but for the last 10 years it's been managed by the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is a nonprofit tourism promotion agency for Albany County.
And that's run through the county?
It's a county program. Again, we're sort of a contract with the county to run their tourism program as well. Yeah.
So let's go into what's there first. I was impressed when I look at the website. I've not been there, but I'm going to fix that.
Oh, okay. You haven't actually been to our
No.
facility. Sure. Well, again, when you come in, it's a very pleasant atmosphere. It's an old historic building, actually 2 buildings that are connected by a walkway between the 2. And the mid-1800 buildings. And the larger building, have you ever been to the Albany Pump Station restaurant, which is our neighbor next door?
So there you go.
Okay. Well, we're actually in the same building as the pump station. That was all one large facility, which
That
was
is a huge building.
Right, which was the pumping station for the city of Albany, the water pumping station. And so a historic building that was transformed, like many buildings in Albany have been, into an exhibit gallery. So when you first walk into our exhibit gallery, you're welcomed by a couple walls that are full of photographs, both present, current day, and black and white, some great black and white photos of past Albany.
Beautiful.
And then as you continue through, you actually enter through what we call our stockade fence. You're walking through or into Fort Orange, and you're greeted by, back in time in 1609, and you're welcomed by a Mohegan Native American, and and learning a little bit about Henry Hudson's voyage to what we now know as Albany. And when you do a little math, you'll realize that when Henry Hudson did arrive here in 1609, and we're approaching 2009, we're approaching 400 years of history for the city.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. So you go back 400 years of time, and as you walk through the exhibit gallery, you advance in time, and you also learn about different periods of Albany's history, from the Dutch rule in Albany to English rule, eventually moving on to the Industrial Revolution and innovations such as the Erie Canal and the steamboat and the steam engine. Learn a little bit about what Albany is known for manufacturing, from beer making, which was definitely
Probably
important
the German,
industry. Yeah, well,
German
yeah,
side.
definitely, and baseballs that were made in Albany, billiard balls. So. And our newest exhibit that we have in our permanent gallery is an exhibit on the Underground Railroad and Albany's role in the Underground Railroad. So we're very excited to have that portion of the exhibit now in place.
That's fantastic.
It sure is.
So you're not only a place to get information about where else to go, but you're a site yourself.
We are, but everything that we do and any exhibits that we have are done in a way to just give you a little bit of a taste, so that the ultimate goal is you walk out the door and say, I really want to learn more, and this is where I can go to do it. And hopefully our visitors will be going to a lot of the other attractions that are in the area.
Now you mentioned programs. What kind of programs do you do?
For the general public, we do a variety of different programs, from walking tours, guided walking tours, to, well, we also are the beginning location for the Albany Aqueduct tours. I don't know if you've taken one of those.
Well, I looked at the map, and I was trying to figure out exactly how you would get from the visitor center to the aqueducts tour.
The
And
aqueducts?
maybe while we're doing it, we can get us to the center as well.
Oh,
I
sure.
forgot to ask where it was.
Sure, well, let's get you there first.
Great.
The Visitor Center is located in downtown Albany. We're at the intersection of Broadway and Clinton Avenue at a little historic square that's called Quackenbush Square. It was the area where the Quackenbush family lived, and the building right next door to us, which is now a restaurant called Nicole's Bistro.
I've been there.
You have? Oh,
It's
boy,
very
you've
good.
been to all the restaurants. I need to come inside. Nicole's is what is now known as the second oldest building in Albany, and we're located right next to Nicole's Bistro. So we are fortunate enough to have visitor center parking behind us, so our visitors can drive right past us on Broadway and go to Spencer Street, head down Spencer, and
That's always good.
we've got a parking lot. So
Great.
yeah, so that's where we're located. And the aqueducts pull up right in front of our building. So it's been a wonderful partnership for us, because it exposes a lot of people who have not been to the visitor center to come inside while they're waiting for their duck tour to begin.
So they can get a little taste, and then they go around and they get a lot bigger taste.
Exactly. And we do have an orientation program in our visitor center as well. It's about, actually there's two orientation programs, one that's geared for adults and one that's geared for children. And they're about 15 and 10 minutes in length. And it's a good way to start any type of tour in
So
Albany.
it's a lecture type thing?
It's actually a slide presentation, which we're right now converting into a DVD format. But it's all, no, it's a full-fledged film per se. Very well done. It's goes back to the beginnings of 1991 when the Visitor Center was open, but it's timeless and seamless. So,
great.
Yeah.
Now, other than the aqueducts, which I'm sure you'll be able to tell people, or they could find out if they went to the visitor center, how to do that.
Sure.
What about the walking tours? How would you sign up for that? I missed that too, and that would have been a great idea.
Some of our walking tours, we do have a self-guided walking tour brochure, which a lot of our visitors really enjoy. They can take it and they can do it at their leisure, and takes them from the visitor center up to the Capitol and back down again. But in addition, we do themed type of walking tours. We do a walking tour a couple times in the summer that is focused on the Hudson Riverway, which is the pedestrian bridge that connects downtown Albany to the riverfront. And for those that have been on the pedestrian bridge, they'll realize there are a series of paintings, trompe-l'oeil-style paintings, that are on either side of the bridge. And those paintings tell the story of Albany's history, going back millions of years to present day. And what we do, because the paintings do tell a story, but it may not be a story that's very clear to visitors without a little help and a little description, our guided tours provide that explanation. So we run those in the summertime. And then we do theme tours sporadically. We have a theme tour coming up in September, as a matter of fact, that's in conjunction with what's called the Hudson Valley Ramble, a series of walking tours throughout the whole Hudson Valley, and our tour will be focused on the Mansion District, just around the Governor's Mansion and the cathedral in that area.
So this is part of a larger program that...
Yes, that particular tour is.
And is that a coordinated regional program? Or?
It is coordinated by the Hudson River Valley Greenway, which is also the National Heritage, Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area. And it's an event that started a few years back with a few handfuls of tours here and there, and it's grown into thousands of people who attend the walks every year, and has now expanded this year to 3 weekends. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, how would people know when exactly those are?
The Hudson Valley Ramble, they will post a brochure a little bit longer down the road, which would be available in the Visitor Center. Our walking tour in particular is already on our website, which is www.albany.org.
And that's pretty easy to remember. We can put it on the screen, but it's very easy.
Albany.org,
right.
Yes.
There's a lot of history in Albany, obviously.
Right.
But Albany isn't a huge city. It's not a New York or a Paris or a Munich.
Right.
And so we don't have 600,000-foot museums of history. We do have the New York State Museum.
Sure do.
But a lot of our venues are a little on the smaller side. And the historic part that you mentioned, the mansion area, that fits in probably so much with history that this would be a very valuable addition to people's visit.
Of course, yeah. I think one of the definite interests in our visitors, that are not familiar with Albany. I think there's probably two types of visitors that come. One is they somehow end up in Albany. They're driving through, driving by, and they decide to stop and see what Albany is all about. So they're the visitor that really has no idea what we have to offer.
And probably not 2 weeks to be here.
Right. So we have the opportunity when those folks come to really share with them what the opportunities are and tell them a little bit about the history and so forth. Then there's another group of people who come who do have a little background information and have an idea of what they want to see. But I think whichever group it is, whichever group comes, and if they do come back to the Visitor Center, the response is the same. You have a beautiful city, the architecture is magnificent, and the history is fascinating. I had no idea that the city was that old and that the architecture was so beautiful, and I'll have to come back and spend more time.
So it's really necessary for people to be guided a bit in Albany, to really get an appreciation for what happened here and why things are the way they are and what it means.
Oh, I think so, yeah. And there's so many ways to do that, from starting out at the Visitor Center, but then venturing out to either a guided tour and the guided tours really are the same way. They're supposed to give you a taste of what you can actually then go and learn a little bit more. The Capitol building, which, have you been there recently?
I have, not recently though.
It's just, the $1 Million Staircase has been completely cleaned, and it's brilliant, it's magnificent.
I think probably like a lot of local residents, you don't go again, or you think you've done it, and you don't think about that.
It's definitely
we plan
worth
our
the
vacation for somewhere else.
That's true, I know. It's definitely worth another visit for those who haven't been in a while, because it's, I've been there recently in the last few weeks, and it's just struck me by the beauty, especially of the $1 Million Staircase.
Well, the whole building is stunning, and it stands out anywhere in the world, I think.
Oh, sure. It does. And then you've got, the Albany Institute of History and Art, which does such a wonderful job of portraying the art and the history of the whole Hudson River Valley region. And our historic homes in the area as well are little gems just waiting to be discovered and tell some wonderful, fascinating stories.
You want to mention a couple of them, maybe?
Sure. Skylar Mansion, which is a state historic site, is in the south end of the city. And that's the home of Revolutionary War General Philip Schuyler. The Tenbrook Mansion, which is just up the hill from the Albany Visitor Center, was the home of General Tenbrook, and then Cherry Hill, historic Cherry Hill, which is just around the corner from Skylar Mansion in the South End as well, has a wonderful story. They are the house is a story of 5 generations of the same family, which is a Van Rensselaer family,
which is one of the founding people from the whole area.
Yes, exactly, and it tells the story. The house was never occupied by anybody else but a family member, and the story focuses, the tour that they offer now focuses on the last generation, just before the last family member died. So everything that you see in that house is original. And
now, when it was built, I know this it gets into a lot of detail, but you just make me very curious. I have this image of an Albany with a lot of farmland around it. The Waterville area was huge. Colonie didn't exist at that point. It was still Waterville. And I can just imagine, was this house close to a lot of other houses, or was it on a big piece of property?
It was a big piece of property. I don't quote me on the exact acreage, but I believe it was around 18 acres or so at that point. And yes, it was farmland, and you can imagine what the view would have been without the port and without the railroad tracks there of the river. So
just imagining things filling in over how many years? 300?
1787 the house was built. So yeah.
Not quite, but
no, but they're old.
Right, and just all of Albany building itself in and around it.
Exactly.
So that would have been, I really need to see those things too. And I think your being here is helpful because maybe it'll inspire a few more people to go.
True, yes.
We read our history books and we learn about some of these places, but I think being able to walk through it and learn the history at the same time adds a nice dimension.
I think it does. I know I learn better that way, when I can see things and interact and be able to touch and feel and get a different perspective other than just reading it in a book. I know I learn a lot better.
Now, just to go back just for a moment, back to the visitor center.
Sure.
You also have a planetarium.
We do, the Henry Hudson Planetarium. It's a 60-seat theater, and actually it's a multi-purpose theater because that is where we also run our orientation film as well. And we do lecture programs and music programs and a variety of different things in that theater. But a planetarium, we do offer star shows to the general public once a month, the second Saturday of every month. We have an 11 o'clock show, which is geared more for children, younger age children, and our 1 o'clock show, which is a general audience show. We also do special public programs during school breaks, and we will this season, actually this year. What we found is a lot of people who were coming for the Albany Aqueduct tours expected that they'd be able to come on a weekday and be able to see a show. So for this summer, July and August, actually July through September, we'll be offering what we're calling Star Sighting 101. And for a half hour at 1 o'clock, you can come in and just get a very brief planetarium show, just to kind of get you started if you're not familiar with being able to find the constellations in the night sky.
And did you say what time that was?
That will be at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock and every day, or?
We'll be offering that on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Wednesdays and Fridays,
in the summer.
okay.
July through September.
Maybe I can make that one too.
Yeah.
I enjoy the stars, but
We'll just make
like
sure
to see
your
it.
summer is full with all these things to do.
Now, you personally work a little bit with other groups, and I know there's a lot of effort in the areas to develop things. How wide of a net do you throw when you try to help people enjoy the area?
We extend quite a ways out. The Albany Convention Visitors Bureau, which is the management entity for the Albany Visitor Center, is really that group which throws that net out into the area. We are a membership organization, so we're 300 strong, and our members do extend attractions in Lake George and Cooperstown and Hudson, New York.
So could you describe the membership organization?
Sure. Our membership is comprised of a variety of different types of members. All of our hotels in Albany County are members.
I see.
Shopping facilities, attractions from the historic homes that we mentioned to various other types of attractions, restaurants, and also the service industry, those that would provide services for meeting groups, for convention groups, and sporting groups, and other type of business-related groups that are coming into Albany. So there are a variety of different types of members that have the opportunity to work together in many different occasions.
And what is their goal, their mission?
Of the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
And that's the membership organization?
Yes.
Okay.
Our goal is to promote and increase economic development in Albany County through tourism-related activities. Yeah.
So that's really an economically driven thing, but of course it has very cultural effects.
Exactly, yes.
And the image, and I've spoken to people about the economy, but people don't move here and don't want to live here just because of a job. They want a life as well.
Exactly. And I do believe that the Capital Region has so much to offer in that respect. And as a Convention and Visitors Bureau, we do work with a variety of different organizations. Certainly I Love New York. They're a close partner, and we also work with other groups such as what's called the Capital Saratoga Region Partnership. We'll work together to maybe develop advertising or ad placements that we wouldn't be able to do on our own, but with a partnership we can afford to get into publications that we wouldn't have otherwise. Same with the Hudson River Valley region. We're part of the Hudson Valley Regional Tourism Partnership as well. And again, allows us to be a part of advertising that we wouldn't have been otherwise, and puts us into a different category. I think the Hudson Valley is probably one of the most well-known areas of New York State, nationally and internationally. And
there's so much that we can reach.
Exactly.
The Hyde Park area is certainly not too far to go.
No, not at all. There's treasures all around us. That's
we
for
had
sure.
family visiting last summer, and I think they were here a couple weeks. That's a long visit, and we didn't miss a beat.
You kept them busy the whole time.
Kept them busy the whole time.
Yeah, and for visitors like that, I think the hosts tend to really want to show off the place where they live.
Absolutely.
And so you're looking for the optimal.
You want them to have a good time.
Sure.
It's the main thing. So, in Albany, we have museums. Are there any things that people often overlook? You know, sometimes we get kind of a tunnel vision, and maybe I think of the historic houses, but I miss something else. What kind of things do you think are maybe the hidden gems that a lot of people overlook?
Well, there's a different ways of looking at it, from attractions to even outdoor recreational opportunities as well. I think outdoor related, you've got some wonderful parks that are right around us, and there's something called the Cohoes Falls, which a lot of us have not seen, and which is
now there I have to say I have seen that in winter as well as summer.
Okay. And so then
it's amazing.
It's a pretty amazing sight. So Cohoes, and then right around the corner from the Cohoes Falls is the Peoples Island State Park, which is a wonderful resource for getting out and doing a little bit of hiking and enjoying being right by the waterfront, by the river.
It's kind of an odd beginning. There's a beautiful park. I've hiked that many times. And then you go through an area where you're wondering, and your guests may be wondering, why are we here? Because you have to navigate some towers and fences. And then finally you overlook the water.
Yeah.
And now it becomes beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a wonderful trip to take on a nice day. And other types of treasures, I think, again, some of we mentioned the historic homes, but I think those are somewhat forgotten, or a lot of people who live or are residents of the area know of them but haven't actually gone to visit them.
That would be my guess if of what I haven't done that I really should have done. Some of the historic homes. I hear a name and it doesn't mean enough to me to get me to go. Whereas maybe if I were in Philadelphia, I would have gone to that house.
Right.
It's home, and so I take it for granted.
Another place that's kind of fun, and although that seems sort of an ironic way to put it, but the Albany Rural Cemetery, which is just down the road a bit from us, from the visitor center and right on the border of Menands. Have you been there? Have you walked through their area?
I haven't.
Oh, it's an absolutely gorgeous cemetery with an amazing amount of history, some very distinguished people who are buried there, both locally and nationally known people. And the cemetery was designed to be a cemetery, but a park setting as well. So the goal when it was built as a rural cemetery was for people to come and spend the day and picnic and walk and play and take part in recreation. And the cemetery is trying to do that again. We've offered a few tours at the cemetery as well, and people love cemetery tours. And I know that they're offering a few this season as well. But just to spend time on your own wandering,
I think
it's a
that's a
beautiful
great
setting.
idea.
I love to go there.
Yeah, I went to Paris and looked for Edith Piaf's grave, but here we have a gem right in the area, and I've never been there.
Yeah, and in September, this will be the 3rd annual Civil War Heritage Day that the cemetery will be hosting on September 29th. And you can go for the afternoon, and it's all reenactments. There's actual military encampments, and you feel as though it's a well done an event, and to be surrounded by people who are dressed in period attire, and so
And then, of course, the Saratoga Battlefield is a little bit similar to that.
Exactly, yes. So that's right up the road from us as well. Yes.
Now, you've described a lot of nice places to visit. A lot of people are probably like me, a little forgetful. What did she say? What was that house? What do we do to get reorganized? How can you help us?
Sure. The Albany Convention Visitors Bureau and the Albany Visitor Center are definitely your resources for all that information. We do put out a publication called the Albany County Visitors Guide, which is available by either calling or via our website.
And that has a lot of the local attractions.
A lot of the local attractions are listed, and restaurants and accommodations, and it's all there. And those little places that are, not in Albany but nearby and worth the trip, they're all noted.
Now, your website is probably good, but can we rely just on that, or shouldn't we come down to the visitor center when we're planning?
We're always encouraging that because we do have a wealth of brochures. So you may want to look at the website and see what might be of interest to you, but maybe then come down and actually pick up some of the brochures or ask more questions.
We're almost out of time. I don't know if there's something we didn't cover that you can think of.
I want to just make one little plug. As I mentioned, 400 years of history.
Oh, that's right.
We are in the process of developing a commemoration for that year, celebration for that year. So just wanted people to know there is a website for that as well, and it's called Hudson400.com.
Could you tell us a little bit about what's going to take place?
It's all still in the planning stages, but the website will give some background history and some of the partnerships involved in Hudson 400. The city, we are working on an event hopefully for September of that year. And the Albany Institute is already slated a major exhibition for 2009, for March through December of 2009, which will be bringing out a lot of their collections, focusing on the history, not just the past, but right through the present day and into the future. So a lot of organizations are really in the process of thinking it through and planning things out, and I think you'll see more and more, and if you watch that website, you'll learn more and more as time goes by.
Interesting. Are you going to have other organizations, maybe are there organizations now that aren't aware of all this planning going on that might want to be involved in that?
There probably are. We do have a lot of people who are on a committee at this point that are representing a number of different organizations within the community. We are working out a few special exhibits and we were working to get the website up and going, and very soon we'll be bringing those people back together, I'm sure, and you'll be hearing more and more down the road.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for keeping us a little organized, and
Sure.
I look forward to some of the things that I've missed.
I hope you take part in them, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great week. Take care.
Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.